Back to HR 1. It's a federal takeover of election law. Others on this panel have discussed how our Constitution sets up a system where the states, just like they're responsible for family law and tort law and contract law, are responsible for election law and election administration. There are limits on that. They can't discriminate based on race or gender or those under over 18, those sorts of constitutional protections, statutory protections. But here, what the federal government is trying to do is rewrite those state election laws to dictate how states conduct their elections. And that is, whether you call it a technical legal term, commandeering of the states, which the Supreme Court said the federal government cannot do, whether it's a violation of First Amendment rights in terms of how the campaign finance system is being rewritten, that part of an HR 1, even the relatively less politicized, less ideological part of HR 1 regarding judicial ethics, Congress purporting to tell the Supreme Court how to run itself, that is a problem of separation of powers. So even before we get to differences we may have about how to properly have elections or how to draw district lines, the mechanism that HR 1 uses, just federal control, kind of a massive Section 5 forever, if you will, for election rules, similar parallels for campaign finance, that sort of thing subverts the normal operation of our constitutional order with respect to election administration.
Because of the way elections are administered, we have a number of different rules and regulations depending on where you live, on how you participate and whether you can participate, et cetera. And so when you have, for this basic fundamental right of citizenship, or maybe rights guaranteed by state constitutions, but not affirmatively guaranteed by the Constitution, as Kim mentioned, that is not good for a democracy. For people, depending on what their latitude and longitude is, they have a different set of rules on how they can participate in democracy. And so while states should retain that authority largely, I think it is okay for Congress to create a baseline for participation in our democracy. And the argument for HR 1 is that that's what it's trying to do. And so you can disagree with the tactics for trying to baseline participation, for trying to baseline ease of access. That's fine. But the principle that participating in our democracy should be something the federal government makes easier for everyone, no matter what state or town or city they live in, I think is the right principle.
Georgia just does not, it's not a vote suppression state. It's not experiencing Jim Crow 2.0. It's doing just fine, the way every other state has forever. Well, not, I shouldn't say forever, because obviously there's a huge problem when there actually was a voter disenfranchisement, but that's just not happening today. It's just not. And if it were, I would oppose those measures. But, Jim Crow, you had, 90% of African Americans disenfranchised in certain states. Every single measure was pretextual, obviously, to stop African Americans from voting. And just tweaking your voting system to make it more secure and deal with problems that people have long complained about, it's just nothing like that. And it's a lie to say so. At least if you know what you're talking about, it's a lie. I think a lot of people are misinformed. So HR 1 is addressing what is clearly a non-problem.
There seems to me there's a lot that both sides could coalesce around if we shifted the debate and not had it be around lies about voter suppression and lies about the big lie, which is that Joe Biden's an illegitimate president. I would love, and I encourage everyone to get out in public and, just like Ilya just did, and say, no, the election in 2016 or 2020 was, according to empirically, one of the safest, if not the safest election in the history of America. And we should all feel really good about the millions and millions and millions of regular people who not only voted, but volunteered at the polls, worked the polls, managed these elections. They are my heroes. They are not partisan. They're not red. They're not blue. They're not politicians. And that's what we should galvanize and circle around. And I think, again, that's not a partisan thing. We can be consistent in the messaging across the board that there really is not a problem with ballot security in America. That is not real, but let's tweak the pieces that maybe there are problems to make it easier for everybody to participate in our democracy. And to me, I don't see that as political.